This episode is brought to you by Bug Zero Pest Control. We've all had home services that made things more stressful. Bug Zero isn't like that. The people they send are calm, professional, and actually respect your space. It's why we feel good talking about their Insectishield protection. Learn more at bugzero.com, and you can call or text 417-831-7378. That number again is 417-831-7378. Thank you, Bug Zero. Just a quick disclosure to share in conjunction with this podcast. Each of us are speaking to our personal experiences and do not consider ourselves experts and cannot offer medical, therapy, financial, or legal advice. We represent a wide range of experience on the autism spectrum and will always honor each perspective that is brought to our discussions. Our experiences, opinions, and perspectives are all unique and different and will be celebrated. Thank you so much for listening and connecting with us. Thank you. Welcome to Navigating Adult Autism. We are just a bunch of moms with a lot of perspectives, a lot of opinions, and a lot of experience. We appreciate you listening. We are discussing it's called NDEAM, which is National Disability Employment Awareness Month, which begins in October. And we have Dr. Jason Grant here as our guest. And I'm Mary, and I'm here with Cynthia and Tara and Dawn and Elizabeth. And we are discussing, in honor of NDEAM, which is NDEAM, what we did to prepare our adult children for employment, our adult autistic children for employment, what worked, what didn't, and some other things that our lovely Dawn has going for October. If I didn't mention it, it's NDEAM.
Thank you. Do you want to try that again?
National Employment Disability Awareness Month is this October. Yeah. So there you go, Dawn.
Okay. Well, a couple of years ago, I had this idea. I'm going to do a press release as a parent because my son is 28 and employment is one of my passion topics. Elizabeth had challenged us, what's your passion in the autism world? And so employment's a pretty big one for me, just because JR's road was so bumpy. Mm-hmm. I was going to do this press release, get a hold of all of the media, outlet media in Springfield. And of course, that fell flat.
I don't know, though, if anybody could have done it, Dawn, it would have been you.
That's true. That's true.
Stand on the,
you got a good start.
I did get a good start. And so then when we had opportunity to dialogue with Eli Winfrey, this idea of a tour was formed. And it's like, wouldn't that be great? We get parents together and we can tour all these different places and see what services are out there. And then you're thinking, well, most of these places are office buildings. Not very inspiring. SWI, that would be a great place to tour. There is something to see there, but
we get tours all the time.
Right. And but other places. And so then it was like, we can do a virtual tour. So here's the plan. Every day in October, we're going to highlight a disability employment service provider. Now, we're defining that term very loosely. So we're going to start with what you can do at high school. And here's some of the things that you can do and agencies that should be able to help you. Mm-hmm. Then, do you want a post-secondary experience? Well, we're fortunate enough in the area, we have some, that are even in Springfield, believe it or not. So the parents need to be aware of that. There's a little bit about some of the funding streams, not a whole lot. Don't want to do a deep dive into that. But as parents, we need to know who's paying for these services, because if that money dries up, we're going to either have to advocate, become politically involved. We need to know where the money's coming from.
And if we want to go to enough work to access it.
Yeah, right. That's the plan. And we are going to partner with the Down Syndrome podcast, T21, and they've agreed to participate. And shout out to them. They've done an excellent job in finding employment opportunities for their adults. I mean, we want to talk about Upside Down Mercantile. We want to talk about Brew 21. And
These are businesses.
These are businesses that Down syndrome parents founded in order to give meaningful employment to their adults.
In Springfield, Missouri.
In Springfield, Missouri. And also, please check out our blog in October, the Autism Gossip, because I've made an attempt to, it's not a roadmap, it's sort of a snapshot landscape of what the services are in words. Sorry, no graphics, no talent there. But I've emailed with every service provider on that list. What am I getting right? What am I missing? And so I think this is going to be a valuable document for parents. So please look for it. Don't overlook it.
And again, explain every day you're going to
post on social media. So Facebook, Instagram, maybe LinkedIn. I'm going to encourage other parents, share your success stories. Even if a failure story you think is going to be beneficial, be humble enough to share that so that somebody else doesn't have to make the same mistake, type of thing.
Everyone needs to look for that. That's a good idea.
Yeah. So I swear it's gone through multiple revisions, and even as we talk, I still have several weeks to work and polish on it. So we're going to talk about, preparing our adult for employment. And I've always used the analogy first shift, second shift, especially with the school. So if the school is first shift, I at home am second shift. And so there's stuff that I can do second shift that's going to help my son in the long run get a job. I need to do those things that I know I can do. I need to listen to you all around this microphone to get more ideas of things I can do to prepare my son for employment. I'm going to start off by telling a story from my young adulthood. I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I have a Cajun roommate, and she was this darling, petite, beautiful young lady. And we're talking about something on the kitchen routine, cleaning up, and we're disagreeing, And so she looks at me and says in her Cajun voice smile, "Your mama didn't raise you right." So I have used that line humorously, hopefully, in public. When JR's doing something that is inappropriate or whatever, you can't explain, So my line multiple times has been, please excuse him. His mama didn't raise him right. So we're thinking this conversation tonight is going to be more, hopefully, of coaching. It's not condemnation. I mean, there's no way we can do everything right. As a parent, one of the major things that I learned from Mary was after JR had graduated from high school, you can't let him sit there all day, home alone, in front of a TV screen playing video games. It's not in his best interest to let him do that. So what do? I'm not there. You had a checklist. These are the things that you have to do. And you've talked about it before,
right?
On the podcast. In some sense, my mama didn't raise me right because she was a stay-at-home mom. She was not a good cook, but she maintained a house well. But she also knew that my brother and I, because we're 365 days apart, and we were constantly arguing. My mom was an only child, and our bickering drove her up a wall. And if she had asked me to do something, I'm sure, God forbid, I would have given her
some trouble.
Some lip. Yeah, well,
Okay.
Dawn,
I know.
I can't imagine
that
you
either.
giving anybody lip.
No kidding.
Okay. Well,
Shut it up. Let me talk.
how about not doing it? It was easier for her to do it herself than it was to stay with me and teach the task how to do it
Some parents
correctly.
are like that.
Right. So, and she was a stay-at-home mom. It was something that she just did. And it was the easiest route. It wasn't necessarily the easiest route for me or my brother.
Okay.
So I think we do that with our kids. My son is capable of following a checklist. He's capable of learning tasks. And I need to give that responsibility to him. and in my best affirming manner, need to talk him through this. Here's why you need to do it.
Right.
And while he's at home, he's 28, he's still living at home. We have no plans really to shift him into an ISL or into his own apartment, primarily due to money. And it's just convenient. He's a non-driver, being home with mom and dad may not be ideal, but that's what it is. So I think that's the first piece of advice.
So you left him less then?
I did. I attempted. I wasn't, as faithful as I should have. And I don't know if you can Google, activity lists for your child to do while you're at work.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And pick and choose.
Mine weren't that elaborate, but I don't know. My mom always left me a list when she was at work. She was a stay-at-home mom and she went to work. So I always had like 3 things to do, fold the laundry, do something. So I did that. I'm sure I read a Tony Atwood Asperger syndrome book. It was probably in there. I read a lot of books. Carrie Duncan and Ginger Crabtree were in my world. And my Conrad and most adults with autism, they like lists. He's a visual learner. So I would just tape it to the cabinet in the kitchen when he got up. And he knew he had to accomplish those 5 things while he was gone. And one of them was an hour with no TV because, computers and all that computers were around, but not, phones and all that. So I said 1 hour of quiet time, nothing, no TV, nothing, read a book, do this. He actually kind of really liked it. He liked checking it off and, he was proud of himself. It does build a little self-esteem as well that he got it done, but he had chores to do at home. He was an only child and it did help us out too for him to throw the whites in the dryer or whatever. So, I guess that helped him, with work. I don't know, but it helped him be a responsible adult while he was at home. Helping around the house is part of living, I think. And
I think we also need to place a caveat on this conversation that we're all seeing it from the perspective of we have kids in our 20s and 30s now, and we're looking back at what we could have done, because a lot of times we're just trying to survive in those times. And it is, for our own mental health, sometimes it is easier to just complete that task on our own. Mm-hmm. But now looking back, and seeing how we raised them and how that, affected how they're going to go into employment, because, their jobs were chores and stuff like that. And then the hurdles they have in employment now, it's looking back and, sort of giving ourselves grace, but what could we have done?
Right.
Because a lot of times, our kids, we were just trying to survive.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
Right.
Yeah, I like that point you made. I just want to echo that because I think what is so cool about this topic that you're doing in this episode is you've been there, so you can look back and you can share some ideas, even if you didn't do them, right?
Absolutely,
because hindsight's always 20/20, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the nice thing about it. But I love what you said because it's so true. And I think oftentimes, even when I'm working with families, there's a lot of time given to, we're just focusing on the bridge in front of us.
Absolutely.
And you have to, there's not this space really to think about 10 years ahead.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fair comment because there can be a lot going on. It's different for everybody, of course.
Yeah.
But for some people, there can be a lot going on where there's no energy, there's no ability to focus on anything right now except we got to get through this year of 9th grade.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
There's enough on our plate with that without looking forward. But I love the idea. Of, what could parents do that would help them feel like they're helping their child? Mm-hmm. Because that's what I think most parents want. Mm-hmm. Is to feel like they're helping their child. I will throw a monkey in the wrench. Is that right? A wrench?
a wrench,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm bad at
Monkey
I
in the
reverse
wrench.
these things all the time. So
That seems
I'm
like, why would you throw a monkey?
yeah, no, it
Is it a
doesn't make
wrench in
sense
the
to
monkey?
me.
Throw a wrench at the monkey.
Just throw 'em.
Which
Yeah.
I'll just throw this out there for thought. I think it's not quite on our topic, but I always have to blame the system. So I think the other side of all of this too is that it's not always, for the parents listening, it's not always your child. Sometimes it's the system that's the problem. And
But we have
sometimes
to document that.
we do. But sometimes it's like, the interviewer was a bad interviewer. The company's a bad company. The person in charge is not great. It's not really so much that your child is going in and making all the mistakes, quote unquote. It's that the system is not doing a good job of presuming competence from your child, of giving them an opportunity, of letting them navigate the interview process in a different way. I mean, there is that side of things, and I know that's a whole, probably another other topic, but I'm just throwing that out there, mainly for listeners who, I don't want parents to feel like, if my child doesn't go and get this one job after high school, it's because I didn't do things to prepare
Agreed.
them.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
Yes.
But we have to document that. Here's what I did, and talking about interviewing, I have talked about this on the podcast. My son was 5 years at the sheltered workshop, and because nothing was happening. And so I went to the workshop. We got a track record. We're ready to try competitive employment again. So I go with the current employment specialist, and he's interviewing on the job. And I was fortunate enough to be in there. And I'm very glad I was. It was awful.
What was awful?
It was,
Your son didn't interview well.
oh my. I had to sit on my hands, bite my tongue. I am not talking. I am not talking. I am not talking. They would ask him questions, and I'm being a bit facetious. So, JR, what's your favorite color?
No answer.
That's me stomping my feet, biting my tongue. And so at that moment, I realized, did this service provider, I'm sorry. I'm not crying. I'm not crying. Did this service provider practice interviewing with him?
Exactly.
This is just awful. So then it was like, why do I expect the service provider to do it? Going back to the poor man's version, I need to start doing this at home. I'm preparing him for it and practice and recording it. And that's, I think, another topic that I would suggest. As you take your child out in public, and please do so, it's difficult. We need to survive ninth grade. But they need to go out in the real world because they can't stay in our house forever. And
For everyone's mental health, moms and kids.
Right.
so videotape them doing something well, whether that's Miracle League, whether that's volunteering at Convoy of Hope. And I would, this is something we did do, but we didn't do enough of it, I don't think. And that is volunteering as a family. So you've got mom and dad as the built-in job coach there. And if you can snap some videotape so that hey, this child can, at Convoy of Hope, he can read a label. He can tell whether or not this article is expired or not. He can do that task. Well, guess what? They taught him to do that at Willard because he would volunteer. They asked him to go into Murphy's Market, and that was one of the job things, tasks. So, I mean, JR would come home to our pantry. Expired out.
Same at our house too, by the way, with the expiration. Yeah.
Right.
2 days expired.
Yes.
Yeah.
So get them in public, document that you got them in public, and when appropriate, and when you can, get videotape. And I would even recommend a video resume, because if your child doesn't interview well, then you've got video. Here's what they can do. And as much as the employment specialists out there, there's some very good ones, but they still don't have the amount of time, and they don't have the vested motivation to do the job.
I think they have the time.
Well-
They're not vested. You're too nice sometimes to those not doing their jobs. But
Well, it's a 8 to 5 job for them. It's not an 8 to 5 job for me.
Right.
This is my child's future.
Yeah, and we sleep on it all night long.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
We're working even in our sleep.
yeah. So those are some of and my daughter got a video production degree, in college, and I still didn't get the video resume, done. But
That's a good tip. That's a good
it
tip.
doesn't have to be elaborate.
So, yeah, with this, we're talking about, these tips and things, and it's important. And we're also saying, we don't want to be too hard on ourselves. But I like to ask Dr. Grant, what is a positive impact on a person's mental health to have employment? Because if I knew what I know now, I might have prioritized a little different.
Yeah.
So what is that
question.
positive?
Great question. I will tell you, I did a mini research study, a little mini meta-analysis, because I do all these trainings, and I was looking at, well, if we're going to conceptualize like autistic individuals, neurodivergent individuals, then what actually makes good mental health for an autistic person, neurodivergent person? So I spent way too much time,
And this
putting
wasn't a setup.
together.
I did not know about this.
We
This
didn't
is
talk
so
about
cool.
this. And I came up with 4, if I can remember them offhand. But the one that's important for what we're talking about, it goes right along with having employment, but it's bigger than that even, and it's autonomy. That was one of the things that came up over and over again from actual autistic adults for good mental health was autonomy. So that would include employment, being able to have the ability to navigate your life in the way
Right.
that you want and you can. And that would include, of course, having finances, which usually means employment, and then other places of autonomy. And so for me, it came back to then we start doing that in young childhood. We start helping them learn how to gain autonomy, right? And that's would probably be my answer to your question, and a little bit to Dawn's too. Like, that is a part of the skill you would be looking for, is how does my child grow up? And some of these concepts like autonomy and like advocacy, that would probably need to be in there as well. Because even to get past the interview, you may need to do some self-advocacy, right, to stay in this job, because our industry out there doesn't understand autism or anything very well. So you may have to do some self-advocacy. So it's like starting these concepts in young childhood and then growing the concept as the child grows. Because obviously the conversation with a 5-year-old about these things is going to look different than the conversation with a 13-year-old and then an 18-year-old. But have it all the way through and keep that flowing.
That's good.
That's perfect.
Another thing that I think I wish I would have done, and that is taken more tours of businesses. Let JR go into different places. He enjoyed, his father worked at Kraft, just retired from Kraft. JR enjoyed going in there. He probably, unfortunately, couldn't work at Kraft because he's going to need a job coach to get seasoned, because it's going to take a little bit longer for him to understand, what the job entails. But exposure to the trades. I think, I don't remember if I told on the podcast, Build My Future just discovered them, and it's Springfield based. Now, it's not disability focused. They want to take high school students and expose them to the trades because there's such a need. And because the trades, 30 jobs, micro, there's money to be made here. And so the trades the labor unions, they're actively recruiting high school students. And so the event was April 16th. I know this because for me, working at a CPA firm, it was a holiday for me. I'm driving by the fairgrounds. I see all of these school buses. I see the title, Build My Future. And
Irresistible for you.
yeah, it was irresistible. And so, yes, workforce development was definitely there. I didn't spend a lot of time, but in the E-Plex, both wings of it was filled with just about every construction trade you would want. And so getting your child exposure there, when we interviewed Dr. Shore, taking the watches apart and putting them back together, that mechanical, that could be a marketable trade, and it was for him in his young adult. He transferred that over to bicycles, So I guess looking for talents, giving them as much exposure as they can tolerate, as you can tolerate. I wish I would have done more of that.
Yeah, to kind of go off of that, if they don't know what job, you ask, a high schooler, well, what job do you want? Most high schoolers are going to say, I could be a gamer, a YouTuber, I could do this, that, right? But if they're not exposed to these things, they don't even know to ask. So that may be something that I would do different because we've done volunteering, but maybe a little bit more volunteering. We've done a lot of Convoy for Hope and animal shelters. But what else have we done? I would expand that and go to those fairs and let them start to dream and to think. Now, I know, Cynthia, you guys, employment was something that was so important, and you guys did a lot of volunteering.
Yes, we did. We started with politics because he needed to get involved. We wanted to just immerse him into volunteerism. So there was a big presidential election. So we just drove by the headquarters one day, and he goes, "What is it?" And I go, "Well, that's the headquarters for one of the parties here." So we pulled in, and he started volunteering. He would answer the phones and hand out brochures and all kinds of stuff. But they said he did well on the phones because he knew a lot about politics, actually, because that was one of his interests. And he knew more than some people that were calling in about politics. And he was very young.
He was just a little guy.
He was little. And then immersed him into Wonders of Wildlife. And see, that's what we were two parents that worked full time. And so I did fail miserably. I definitely took the easy route with him. And I would just I wanted to get things done. So I did it. And I'm seeing that now when he's married, because I don't know if he jumps up and does the things he needs to do around the house, because I did it for him when he was home. I did it for his dad as well.
Catherine, if you're listening, develop a list.
Exactly. Yeah. And I did. I mean, he had to vacuum and do a few things. But, I know on one of his jobs, and then he went to volunteer at the zoo and did a lot of volunteerism there. And he didn't know how to use a broom, and he got called out on that. But, I thought, I never even taught him how to use a broom because we had a vacuum cleaner. And he never,
Right.
and I thought, wow.
He didn't have any.
Yeah. Right.
Going back to Dr. Grant's comments about assumed competence, could Eric have managed a broom? Of course he could have. Yeah. But he presented as incompetent because he had no exposure, because nobody had actually taught or broken down the job. And so, when a child or an adult is asked to do something and they can't do it, it may not be because they're incompetent. They just don't have any exposure.
Well, and then teach them the words to say, I was never taught how to use a broom.
Yeah.
Something simple like that.
We
you
only
have
had
to.
carpets.
Exactly.
We had carpets, so I never really used one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just give them the words to use to advocate to.
I think there's a difference though, because this is a funny story, but I just dropped Caleb off at CU Boulder, and I put his twin sheets on his bed.
I saw you doing
And
that.
I seriously don't think he knew how to do it because I do that for him. And I was like, so the neurotypical kid,
that happens too.
I do that to the neurotypical kid, but I know that he probably would take the, initiative to do it on his own if I wasn't doing it. But Zion, on the other hand, probably would not take the initiative to learn how to do it on his own. He would need support to learn how to do it. Not that he's not competent in that. It's just that I've supported him in such a way that I've sort of taught him a little bit of helplessness. I don't know. It's like there's a word for that, and that I've learned in my master's program. But yeah, it's the idea that you sort of let them try and fail if that needs be, and then you support them and after that. But yeah, that's happened in all my children. But I definitely feel like I could have helped Zion in his, now looking back, like I said before, I could have helped him be a better employee in a lot of cases.
Yeah. I definitely think I should have worked on tone after probably should have saw you, Dr. Grant, about that. Because that keeps coming up in his job performances on how he addresses people. But I am going to reword it like you talked about, like they have needs.
In our last episode.
Whenever it's airing. But yeah, I think he might gain a little knowledge about that because he is always called out on that. And something else I have had to teach his employers, not teaching, that's pretty strong, but advise them that a lot of our kids on the spectrum, they may make eye contact and you may give them a direction and they may act like they understand what you're saying. And they really they weren't listening to the direction at all. And I've asked his supervisor to say, now, what did I tell you to do? What is the direction? And sometimes he can't even repeat it back, but he'll act like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, and his supervisor the other day said, oh my gosh, that's right. I haven't done that in a while, but please don't assume he knows, just have him repeat it. And I do it casually. I don't do it. I did practice with him in the car the other day. And I said, now, what did I say you need to do when you get into your apartment? I said, okay, good job. Yeah, just making sure you're listening.
Yeah.
But
on Zion's this is his third employment experience right now. And he has definitely learned from the previous two that he asks if he can write it down.
Right.
And he advocates for himself. I was like, can I write that down? And he actually takes a little notebook and a piece of, a pencil with him.
It's a good tip.
All the time. And he also has advocated for himself that he needs a list for anything that needs to be done because he just can't remember.
My son has that at work too. They were really good about that. So he does have a list every day. Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good.
And if you start off the employment experience with that
positive.
then yeah, in the positive light, then there's no negativity when he asks for the list like 4 months later and it's already, been 4 months of having some problems.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, so exactly with that, one thing, a tip that I would give is that, we can't teach them everything. So Cynthia might have done a vacuum, a Swiffer and all these other things, but missed the broom, right? We don't know exactly what we're missing. So teaching them ahead of time about asking for those accommodations and understanding how to do that. So it's not going to take them 4 weeks in a job to ask for that accommodation. So and it doesn't have to just be employment based. So you can practice, what kind of accommodations, could they ask you when you go to see a movie? One of Chase's accommodations is when a certain person drives or is in the car, he wears his earbuds, just because of the noise, and so he's learned how to ask that. But yeah, that's something I would probably suggest or would do more because that would be because we can't predict everything in every scenario they're going to run into. And that's a lot of pressure to put on ourselves. But if we practice, how do we ask for those accommodations? What is an accommodation? Yes. When is it okay to ask? Because there's some pretty specific ways to do that as well. And then just practice that.
And Eric would benefit from that because he does struggle in the interview process. And I think back to he spent 10 years volunteering. So he was always watching everybody else doing their jobs. So sometimes were they lackadaisical? Were they, were they not working that hard? I mean, I don't know. So, I mean, but they did a good job. And he had some wonderful people to work around, but you still just wonder because he needs some help on the interviewing process. He needs to be able to write down things, but he won't ask for it. So
It's a lot more work for us parents to train them and talk to them about it. Neurotypical kids, they kind of get it. They're thinking, oh gosh, maybe I should do this, or maybe our kids don't have that.
I don't know. Zion is a great interviewer. I mean, like you can interview him and it seems like he could do any job under the sun, and then you get on the in the job, and he has a much harder time with anxiety and stress of the job.
Oh yeah.
Job place and everything like that. But when you're interviewing him, his vocabulary is so high. And he just sounds so intelligent. And I mean, he is intelligent. I'm not saying that he isn't. It's just that he was like, oh, I can do that,
Yeah.
I can do anything.
Self-confidence.
Yeah, he does have a lot of confidence. And then he gets on the job, and then he has some problems with, remembering things and stuff like that. So it's interesting. So all of our kids have different skills, but I love that autonomy idea though, because it goes back with also like giving your kids choices when they're younger and having some control of their life.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we do a lot of times. I always go back to sometimes my own parents parenting me, of like having this idea that I didn't have a lot of choices. I had to just do it. Had to be done. And I think the idea of, I just read a thing in my class today about adultism, like having like this idea that adults know it all, and that the youth voices aren't. It's almost it's a form of discrimination against youth, that they are not. As knowledgeable, and that adults know it all and sort of lord over them. And I thought about that, and I'm thinking about my son Caleb, who is the smartest kid I know. And with social media, with all the knowledge at your hand right now, there's a lot of times where I had to say, I'm sorry, Caleb, you absolutely know, this information way better than I do. But the idea that your kid's voice is important. Your kids, this idea that that we know it all, and we should not tell our kids, I'm sorry, things like that. Kids should have control of their life. They should have autonomy. And if they learn it when they're young and have choices and the ability to choose parts of their life and what we do as a family, we've always had a thing where the kids have a vote in the vacations we take, things like that. I think that builds on to that idea that they will be valued and more autonomous as they get older.
Yeah, I think that's so important to do in everyday life, and remember that transfers, right? And so even in the therapy room, I'm always looking at ways to promote autonomy from a young kid to a teen to a young adult, and even advocacy. Sometimes there are things, this is a small little example. Anyone who hears this and comes in to see me will now be like, I knew you were going to do that. But I have this blind in my office, and it faces the east. And one of my sensory issues is visual. And so there's a way the sun comes through the blind and hits the chair I sat in, where it's like, if that continues to happen, I can't focus on this client. And so I don't change the blind, though. I let it happen. So in that moment, I stop and I advocate for myself, and I get up and I change the blind, and then I come back. And then sometimes, depending on who the client is in front of me in that hour, I will point out that I advocated for myself.
Nice.
And that's what it looks like in just a small example, right? And so I think even just looking for those everyday opportunities where you can model advocating, you can model, places of choice giving for autonomy, even point out when you do it, not even just when you're encouraging them to do it, so they can kind of see it in action from you, the adult, because all of that, even if you're not talking about a job, it connects. It applies, it builds, it scaffolds, right? And so it has benefit later when we're talking about, out there in employment land on your own and you're trying to make it work, you know, as a young autistic adult.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to try to draw Heather into this conversation because she's got a great employment story.
That's what I was going to do too. So take it, Dawn.
No, take it,
Heather.
Heather.
Take it, Heather.
Yeah. Let me share the great story. So yeah, I think the end result is a good story for sure. I will say that in school, like, as far as like, we dealt with a lot of, not all the time, but we did deal with a lot of people who had low expectations for Zachary. And sometimes when someone isn't very verbal, I think there's a little bit of discrimination there. Like they don't have anything going on, like they're not thinking about anything and they can't do anything. And so, my advice first, just looking back, like some of you have done, I mean, I felt like I was fighting for literally everything, all 12 years of school. So I get like, there's a fighting fatigue. Like there's only so many things you can fight for and also keep your mental health stable. But I will say that I remember it was 5th or 6th grade. There was a teacher, a special ed classroom teacher, and she basically just quit doing any, like she didn't think we needed to do anything with Zachary and academics and things like that. And she wanted to teach him how to moisten an envelope. And because she was starting to talk to me about like a bad version of SWI, let's say that, right? Like all he was basically going to be able to do was possibly, you know, lick or moisten an envelope. And I knew right then, I was like, okay, literally no one is going to help us with, you know, like post-graduation employment type stuff. Like no one's going to be on the bus with us. So anyway, but in high school, when we started those transition meetings, we did have, you guys will remember better. What's the name, the organization that helps with the schools?
Impact.
Anyway. Well, it was the job coach folks that come into the
VR?
school. Yeah.
Vocational rehabilitation.
Yeah. And our experience there was, you know, I think sometimes that just the people that we worked with just weren't maybe qualified or passionate about, you know, Zachary's support needs and the level and trying to figure it out, because as we know, he can do things. So in high school, he just they didn't really even speak to him directly. They just met with me several times. And then I did remember we had one opportunity the summer between junior and senior year of high school. The VR folks had like a 12-week camp kind of thing, and they were going to go into a grocery store and work on stocking and stuff like that. And that was something that I positively 100% knew Zachary could do. But they did not let us into the program because he needed, I'm going to use my air fingers. He needed too much support, which, you know, I found interesting, since they were the ones that were supposed to be helping support people, you know, with disabilities. That, you know, so anyway, that was not that didn't work out very well for us. But now the success story now is that Michael has worked at Bug Zero for 26 years now, and has recently in the last couple of years become a co-owner. And what that allowed us to do was, hey, we're going to find our own work. And so we did. There was, it's a termite monitor refurbishing. And the technicians at Bug Zero were doing that job in their free time, which wasn't, you know, they didn't have a ton of free time. And so we just decided that might be something Zachary would enjoy doing. He likes working with his hands. I mean, he does lots of fine motor kind of stuff that he seems to enjoy. And so Michael started teaching him that in our garage. And he basically volunteered for a year and now he's so fast that like you can't even hand him the old termite monitors before he's ready for another one. So he's way faster than any technician was doing it. Which
Wow.
but yeah, so after he volunteered for a year, Michael put him on the payroll, and he gets paid 2 hours a week, and he does it in our garage because, you know, certainly his sensory needs, he couldn't really handle working in the office necessarily, but he does a great job. We set up his workstation in the garage, like I say, and he does it weekly. And so while that isn't traditional, like, I guess, in the sense of a 40-hour work week, like, we feel like that's a huge, like, adapt, right? Like, just do what works for your child, adult child, whatever age they are. Like, if he can do something meaningful with work and get paid to do it, and it just so happens to be in our garage, I mean, that's fine. So I think from the perspective of like high support needs or profound end of the spectrum type stuff, I think a lot of times families have to either come up with their own business,
Yeah.
you know, kind of employ their own kids,
Yeah.
or find volunteer opportunities. I mean, to me, you just have to network. We did have one person in the community that said, hey, and this was right when COVID happened, so this didn't like pan out, but he was a manager of a food place that Zachary very much enjoyed. So I won't name but he still very much enjoys their food right now. But he had said, hey, you know, let's get Zachary in on an evening or something, and you guys can come with him, obviously, because he couldn't do it by himself. But he said maybe he could volunteer a little bit. Maybe he could, you know, make up the boxes or do some different things. And so that was the first time we had somebody outside of our little sphere that was willing to say, hey, let's bring him in and let's see what we can make happen. So that's pretty exciting. But
Yeah.
I think like employment success obviously looks different for anyone that's not going to fit into that traditional 40-hour a week
Right.
sit in front of a computer thing. But yeah, I mean, I just think that our biggest challenge was just people just assuming that he couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. That gives a lot of hope for parents that have, you know, lower functioning individuals. So that's,
I think
that's helpful.
Love that story.
I do too.
So for if the public who hopefully is listening to this podcast, if you are a business owner or you're an HR person, and you have a job that you see is maybe repetitive, or you think might be suitable for an individual, we would beg of you, get a hold of VR, go take a look at that landscape document. There are like 5 entities, organizations that work with VR. Let them know, hey, I think this will be a good fit. My brother Max went to work at the Springfield Underground after losing his wife, and he's a computer programmer by trade, but didn't want to go back to that job situation after he lost his wife. So he goes to this basically unskilled job at the Springfield Underground. And after he's been on the job for a while, he comes to me and he goes, Dawn, I think JR could do at least 50% of what I do. It's like, well, VR has one business consultant who's supposed to sniff out all the job opportunities in the area. I'm sorry, they can't do it, no matter how wonderful they are. So that means the public, I mean, if you see something like that, please say something.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're bringing meaningful employment and, you know, a reason for life, I would say, in my son a little bit, because his job became like so important to him, or is so important to him. So it's just it's a way for autonomy. It's a way for it keeps him out of a little bit of anxiety and depression. I mean, he has a purpose. He relied upon by other people, not just his mom and dad. That means a lot.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I'm going to add something about what Heather said about her son too. This makes, if any employers, potential employers out there are listening is also, you could be getting a very good employee.
Absolutely.
And, just like her son, I think you said, Heather, he's doing it faster than the other people were doing it. Like if you don't forget that you could be getting someone who can do something very valuable for your organization. They're doing it well. You're getting a good employee. And that side of it.
And it's good PR. There are tax breaks. Go ask your accountant about it. One of them that I know about is the WOTC, the Work Opportunity Tax Credit.
If you hire somebody with a
If you
disability.
hire somebody, now I'm not sure exactly how to implement it and document everything that needs to be documented to get this tax credit, but there are employers in Springfield that I know are using it. So it's got to be beneficial. And there was I can't cite the specific study, but they took Down syndrome employees at a hospital and they put them, and I think you said maybe SWI did this at one time, where they're sanitizing medical equipment.
Oh, they are. That's a new job they're doing.
So they found out that the accuracy by the Down syndrome group was greater. The accuracy was greater than the neurotypical because the job is so repetitive, so redundant.
It just works.
Well, yes.
The neurotypical mind, after a while, you start wandering and you get on autopilot, and all of a sudden you're making mistakes.
Yeah.
Not because you're competent, but because the job is just, that repetitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which a lot of our kids thrive on. They're like, oh, I have a list. I'm going to go by every step of this list and I'm going to do it right every time.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
Which I'm going to give a shout out to SWI, which is a Springfield workshop. They don't really call workshops sheltered anymore, but,
Supported?
since we're older, supported employment. And VR will not refer anybody to SWI because of funding reasons. They don't get any funding for referring somebody there. So that will not come up. So you need to ask. And some parents have been very irritated by that and said, it's not really their decision. It's our decision. But anyway, it's a wonderful, wonderful place to work. We have taken over the Marshfield location, the Monette location, and there's a lot of job skills to be learned there, either to carry you on if you want to, like JR did, out in the community.
They have a dog kennel now, right?
We do have, that's the choices. We own a dog kennel, a resale boutique, and Artisan Elements, where we make candles and other items. And the garden program is part of SWI too, and there is inclusion there.
Can you talk about Sunny Bunny?
Sunny Bunny Easter eggs.
Easter eggs.
We do own that company. And talk about repetitive employment. A lot of the task at SWI is repetitive. In fact, when they're really swamped and busy, the neurotypical employees have to help, or even the supervisors have to help. And a lot of the people that are employed there get mad at the typical people because they're doing it wrong and they're not doing it fast enough. And I'll come in one day and they're like, Mary, you want to see us this weekend? We couldn't do the boxes and we were like messing it up and they were getting mad and that's not how you do it.
Well, it's the pride they take in their job.
Yes.
I know Zion is,
Yeah.
he wants to do it right. He wants to,
Right.
He wants to make everybody proud of him.
Right. Yeah. I love it.
He wants to be
there.
proud of himself.
Yeah. It's a great place to work. I sit on the board there and I walk through a lot and just visit with people and see how it's going. And, but VR will not refer you there. So you need to kind of find out on your own or, look on our website, SWI Industrial Solutions. But it does, I wish the laws change, but you can't go there after high school. You have to be over 25, I believe. If you're under 25, you almost have to have like a physical, like if you're Down syndrome, you can kind of get in there right away.
Well,
but you have to
JR went to work
under 25.
Under 25, so there was this certification process, which was
You have to prove that the community wasn't
you
working for
couldn't
you.
find a job, right? And so, was that the truth? I don't think it was. It was just there was no opportunity, and we needed to document that he could do something,
Right.
and we needed a track record.
Did a great job there.
and that was the easiest route to do that.
Yeah. I love it there. And even working at the boutique, the resale boutique, I volunteer there a lot. And we have 3 people with disabilities working there. And I just love training them and job coaching them. And, you know, they're
Can you describe a job coaching?
well, I'm not really a job coach, but I mean,
Well, no, you are.
Well, no.
Whether you got that label or not, we're going to give you
I'm
the
just
label
helping
because
out.
that's what you
or
are.
training them. Yeah.
Because I think, you know, I drafted a list for this episode, which of course I didn't print out or bring with me. But one of the items was for parents, do your best to act like a job coach.
Oh,
You know, and so
I said that.
yeah, you.
I said, act like a job coach.
No, I put that. I was on my list.
okay.
Act like a job coach,
Okay.
and
Gotcha. I
So,
probably
I
do
mean-
act like a job coach, but I love training. I mean, I love training well, I don't want to get off on that tangent, but I mean, I see it in their face. They're happy. They're competent. You know, they'll tell me, I love my job here, Mary. I love it here. And I'm like, oh, that makes me just so happy, you know, but listen, I'm training them. We did have to let someone go the other day. But you know, just even teaching them how to dress, how you would look when you come in here. And, you know, one girl, if she had one wrinkle in her over top, there was 10 million. I said, okay, let's talk about this for a second. You know, when you go to work, you can't wear this wrinkled mess. You have to. So anyway, it's just fulfilling and it's a real job and they're real people. And I love that they love it there. And so our job at SWI through that boutique is to one of the reasons Abilities first opened it, shout out to them, was to have a place of employment for people with disabilities. Not because they really just wanted to open a company. Let's create something that give people with disabilities an opportunity. So that's what we're doing there. And so it's called The Boutique. It's
what's the
Springfield,
location?
Missouri. Yes. So anyway,
I also think that organizations need to think about making part-time jobs accessible. I mean, they could split a job up.
yeah, these
and
are
not-
part-time jobs at the boutique. by the
Yeah,
way.
I'm talking about like
in general.
in general, because I think that our kids would flourish in some of those jobs. They may not be able to work 40 hours. Zion is, I mean,
My son
he probably
can't.
is capable in some role that he was being very supported in, but right now he's not able to do 40 hours. That would stress him out. But man, if someone would just see this, I mean, because he has gone and interviewed for so many different jobs that say they just want a 40-hour work week employee.
that's true.
But man, if they could just cut it in half and hire 2 people for that role, they would have the best employee out there.
Right.
Because some of these are just 40-hour work week jobs.
That's a good
Like we gave him a job running our soundboard when we were first going, and he did really well. And then he actually advocated for himself when he was working at the theater that he's like, I can do this. I can run a soundboard. And he actually worked in the sound booth many days. But if you look at all the jobs out there, they're all 40-hour work weeks.
True.
And if you are an employer, think about breaking up those jobs to try to accommodate some of our kids.
Right.
Because you're going to get a great employee.
True.
Yes.
And
We could
one
do
more
better.
shout out to, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
One more shout out to Springfield Public Schools and their BASE program, which really helped my son with learning job skills. And I wish all high schools, they might have some form of that, but that was a really good program. So I did love the BASE program. So
What were you
Yeah.
going to say, Dr. Grant?
I was just going to add, I think it would be nice to see that happen. It'd be nice to see on the employer side just more variety,
Yes.
because that benefits everybody, neurodivergent, neurotypical, autistic, everybody. If you have, it doesn't affect our bottom line.
Right.
And we can offer part-time, full-time.
It may save them money
Flexible
to not have
shifts,
benefit, to not
remote
have to,
work,
yeah.
right? Think all those different varieties of options, because then that would be helpful for the young adults we're talking about, because they could go, a lot of this comes down to fit, right? And that's what we hear like Stephen Shore talk about, and so many of these autistic adults who write and speak about. It's about finding the fit. right? If you find the right fit, it is like full on, you know, and for the employer to offer the variety, especially when it doesn't make a difference to them,
Right.
then we're more likely to find the fit, right?
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to see that change on that end of things.
It's the system.
Well, I wasn't going to use the S word. That's fine.
It's the system that needs to change.
Yes.
And I was going to say, I think the system has to undergo change because our numbers keep growing.
Right.
And so if it's 1 in 31, and we know that's of 8-year-olds, you can only imagine what it is, you know, for the children being born today. But that's a majority. We're going to be in a majority. 1 in 31, that has to be 1 in 15 parents. And I think I said earlier off the mic, I have this vision of, you know, walking into a restaurant and saying, attention, everybody, if you're an autism parent or a grandparent, raise your hand, you know. And I think we would find that, yeah, the CDC's right on that. The numbers are that high. So the system's going to have to change.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Not because they're going to be kind or, I mean, they're just the sheer number and
Necessary.
weight.
It'll be necessary.
And
Yeah.
it'll
Yeah.
be good business
growth.
if they do it right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be exactly business.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
And I need to spend my money in places that have disability employment. Am I going to go to Hy-Vee? Yeah. Am I going to go to Panera? Yeah. Am I, you know,
That's another good point.
so my,
Yeah. Yeah.
too.
Autism parents have, you know, the resources they're going to support the businesses that support their kids.
Yeah. Yeah. And we need to make that known a little bit. Like, I never thought about saying anything.
Yeah.
I do to 2 students at Hy-Vee that I had. Well, I didn't have them, but I was in their building. And well, I had one of them. I'm so pleased that he worked there. I couldn't believe it. But I did say something to the manager one time. It's been a
Yes.
while. But yeah, I think we need to acknowledge, like you said, Dr. Grant, like just go in there and say, hey, thank you. And this is why I'm here.
yep.
Yep. That's
Write-
good.
write
I don't do that
letters.
often enough.
It was last year. So 2023, I had the wild idea of doing the press release that didn't go anywhere. But then I in 2024, I wrote letters. And, well, I wrote to Walmart because they hired my son, wrote to Panera, heard back from them,
good.
which was nice.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, we need to vocalize our appreciation for those who see the need.
Well, didn't last Christmas, did we put out a blog or of all the places that I know that I bought tons of popcorn from that company that
Oh, that's right.
because everybody got popcorn last Christmas.
Yeah.
And it was a company that just hires people on the
Yeah.
spectrum.
Popcorn for the people.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. A little
Popcorn for the
expensive,
people.
but it was good popcorn.
Yeah.
So
And I bought pretzels from, again, somebody on the East Coast. And Heather, you're still with us, I hope. Heather had the idea, and she gifted us little soaps.
oh yeah. Yeah, that's right.
And so, yeah.
To support Bug Zero.
And support Bug Zero. Yes.
Fort Bug Zero, shop Upside Down Mercantile.
We need to put this on our website. We'll make a list of all the businesses and put it on our website.
Yep.
Yes. Prepare for Christmas.
Yes.
What, Heather?
Yes.
I do think that, I mean, I love the Christmas idea. So now it's like, everybody that I'm giving something to for the holiday is always going to get, it looks like it's a tradition. They're going to get something made by somebody with a disability.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
good idea.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Little, small, whatever it is. Like, yeah, I love those people.
Can I just request popcorn this year? I'd like the caramel thing.
Yum.
You know, it's funny though, because right now I've changed the dog treats we're using because I found Echo Barkery that people with
neat.
disabilities. Yeah. So like I told Michael, I was like, I don't care if something's cheaper at Walmart. I'm buying this. This is the
Good.
treat
Yeah.
we're buying.
Good tip.
So yeah, it's cool to find those places, but what you find often is that a family or a parent or somebody who started that. Like they just made it happen. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
We're all
I'm not surprised.
And you've got the Hive in Willard. You can go there for baked goods.
Yeah.
They have a little gift shop.
Yep.
Right.
And did you see online Facebook the Plucky Cafe in Marshfield?
I saw that.
So-
I didn't know what it was though.
Yeah, it's a cafe. I don't think they have a website. I think it's only on Facebook. And so WC Partners, so they're the Senate Bill 40 board for Webster County and all that. I don't know how it's all working out. I do know that it's disability focused. I mean, just like the Hive is.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll try to put that on the blog
Yeah,
as
we'll
well.
get some businesses going. That's
well,
a good
it-
idea.
It's in September's.
Oh, it's already in your.
It is.
Okay.
Okay. In September's Autism Gossip.
Yes.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Dawn, since this was your baby, Endeem, do you want to wrap it up with any last words on Endeem?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I'm going to steal a punchline from another organization, and that is please give this topic your small talk. Go out there, talk about it. We're doing this virtual resource fair because social media has allowed us to be a voice. We don't have to have KY3 cover a story for us, but we need to talk about it. And so I guess that's the challenge. If we want more, we're going to have to go out there and ask for it. Just like we want our students to our individuals to ask for accommodations. We're asking.
We want more.
We want more.
We want more. We want more. Nice.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening, everybody. And Tara, where can they find us?
Yeah, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Navigating Adult Autism Podcast. You can listen on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube under Navigating Adult Autism Podcast. And you can contact us at moms@navigatingadultautism.com.
Great. And thank you, Dr. Grant, for being our guest tonight.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Enjoyed it.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.